Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to this first session for collective bargaining between the City of San Antonio and Local 624 International Association of Firefighters. We're excited to be here with all of you. What we're going to do today is that we are going to introduce our teams and review the ground rules for the collective bargaining sessions that we have both agreed to. Finally, we are going to discuss the date and the parameters for our first negotiation session next month, the month of March. So with that, I would like to introduce our City Manager, Eric Walsh, who wants to provide some brief remarks. Eric?
Joe, Rick, thank you for coming today. This is an important moment for us. I did want to share a little bit of my thoughts before we begin negotiations. It is critical that we stay focused, and I think we've demonstrated in the past with the last police negotiations that as we stay focused, we can complete these tasks in record time. San Antonio has a history of elongating this process, and we're very focused on making sure we get to the end goal. It's to the benefit of the firefighters, our employees, your members, the department, the city, and the public. And I shared with Joe out in the hallway as I was driving in this morning. I found it a little ironic. Today is my 5-year anniversary as city manager, and 5 years ago today, we received notice from the previous union administration that they wanted to begin negotiations. And a lot of things have changed in the last 5 years, and I think it's important for you to hear from us that our approach is different. Can't change history, but we can certainly learn from it, and you know, our end goal is to make sure that we provide competitive, fair wages to our employees. We retain them, that we can actively recruit the best, and they have long, successful careers with the San Antonio Fire Department. It's really key for us. This is the second largest operational expense we have as a city. So it's going to require a lot of focus, and we're committed to it. And I want to thank, I know that Joe and his entire team have probably been spending a lot of time getting prepared, and I appreciate that because I think that'll all pay off in the end as we get through the collective bargaining agreement. So this is our A-team, right? Maria and Liz and Renee and Ben when appropriate here at the setting, and aspects of the fire department when we're dealing with a management issue. But this is our A-team, and we hope to accomplish this in a beneficial way for both us and you guys. So thank you for all the prep work, and looking forward to the ongoing conversation over the next couple of months to completion. Thanks, Maria.
Thank you, Eric. Okay, so with that, we'll introduce our teams. The association, if you would like to introduce your team.
I'm Lieutenant Billy Hacker. I'm the negotiation chair for Local 624. Been with the fire department maybe 29 years in May. Currently assigned to the arson division for 6 years. With us today on the team, we have our chief negotiator, which is Rick Paulson. We have our union president, Joe Jones. I have Lieutenant Mike McCarty.
Thank you, Billy. And on the city side, I'm going to ask our team members to introduce themselves. Ben?
Hi, good morning. I'm Ben Gorzel. I'm the city's chief financial officer. I oversee our finance department, human resources department, risk management, office of city council. Been with the city for a little over 33 years. Good to see you all again. Look forward to working with you.
Hi, I'm Renee Frieda, and I'm the city's Human Resource Director. I've been with the city about 17 years.
Good morning, everyone. Liz Provencio with the City Attorney's Office.
And I'm Maria Villagomez, the Deputy City Manager, been with the city 26 years, and my areas of responsibility include fire, police, emergency management, and the budget office. So we're excited again to be here, and we look forward to the productive conversations that I know we're going to have in the upcoming sessions. So with that, if you are agreeable, what we would like to do is to review the ground rules that we have both agreed to. We provided a copy of the ground rules to the association this morning, and they have been signed by both the city and the association, but we wanted to review them, make sure if there are any questions that we can address. So to do so, I'm going to ask Liz Provencio to begin that process. For purposes of those that are watching the session, we place those in a PowerPoint so they can easily see them as well. Liz?
Thank you, Maria. We also have copies, if there's anybody that would like to follow along on a copy. We sure appreciate the pre-work that went into the review, and if we can go ahead and get to the first slide, these ground rules are substantially similar to prior points that we've included, and so for the most part we think there's a pretty common understanding of the different provisions, but we'll take a little bit of time just to walk through those so that if there is a question about the application or the practicality of how we intend them to work, that we go ahead and address that now. So with regard to the first provision in the ground rules, and just as a general sense of our intention and understanding, is just expectations and making sure that we're aligning expectations with you all, and that we, to the extent possible, eliminate sort of any room for miscommunication and just trying to functionally make things work and productive sessions and be efficient, get you all what you need, and likewise for us. So with regard to that, the first provision addresses the leave and effectively the productive time that's counted for the union members that are taking the time to participate in this process. And so the first portion of the leave provision talks about the administrative leave provision that's already in the CBA and authorizes additional leave to the extent needed, hour for hour. It also provides for a travel allowance of an hour for those that have to travel to get to the negotiations, and to emphasize that the committee's not going to lose overtime opportunities. In other words, this time will be counted as productive work time while they work on these negotiations. In addition to what's already provided for in the agreement, 2 additional union members will be allowed on union leave. Admin time will be used to the extent necessary, and it provides for what the leave submission process will be in the event that we schedule a meeting less than 5 days in advance. It also has a provision that adds to what Article 6.2 already provides, so that additional personnel in particular divisions are in a position to be able to participate. So with regard to leave, we try to be pretty specific about those expectations, and so if there aren't any questions, I'll go ahead and go to the next slide. Thank you. As Maria recapped and Billy already recapped, we have our representative teams here. Those are enumerated in rule number 2, identifies additional members that aren't here today with the association, and that to be Clayton Sadler and Ricky Poole. In addition, as I mentioned, to the members that were introduced earlier, identifies our team that was introduced, provides that each of the teams will keep the negotiations at the table. In other words, the process is designed for you all to be vested with the authority of your membership to bring the issues to the table, and likewise for the city side for us to bring the issues and have those discussions here. The intent behind it is not that we go around and try to sort of peel off any support, and likewise for you all to sort of respect the authority that is brought to the table here and not peel off and try to negotiate without those that have been provided that specific authority to do that here at the table. It also reflects that and anticipates that to the extent we get into certain discussions that require expertise or above and beyond what we've already got here at the table, that we fully expect that you may use those experts, and likewise we may as well. So this just anticipates that there may be more of us that provide input to the extent needed depending on the issues that arise. And so with that, we'll go on to number 3, if that's good. Okay. With regard to initial proposals, the thought would be that we cover ground rules today and then talk about what our expectations are for the next meeting date, which would be at the end of March by consensus. And obviously, expectation is beyond that there will be additional proposals and counter proposals. By no means is it a limitation. But just so that we can get some meaningful discussion at our first substantive meeting with the issues that are important to you all, and so we can be sure that we're addressing them in the priority that you want us to address them, and likewise for us. No questions on 3. We'll go ahead and go to 4. We are all here, and this is a public posted meeting in compliance with the Texas Local Government Code. We want to be sure that there's not a confusion with regard to the public meeting process and our caucuses. Our caucuses are private to each of us, and so something that we're accustomed to working within, but want to be sure that anybody in the public who may not be as familiar with the process is fully aware that the rules that govern our negotiations actually provide for the ability for us to be able to meet in private and have those productive discussions internally. These meetings will be posted in accordance with the Open Meetings Act. For specific reference, they're on SA Speak Up. They're also posted on the public portal where typical city agendas get posted, so anybody that's looking for those postings can find those in those places, again, electronically and publicly posted. This also provides for the ability for us to be able to use some subcommittees to the extent necessary if we get into a particular point on an issue that requires just a little bit more meaty time and sort of refinement by either of us to fully understand it. We anticipate using the subcommittee process to the extent you think it would be a productive tool, and so that we can dive into any particular part of a point that may need more time or extra time outside of our regular sessions, and those would just be amongst us and not publicly posted meetings. If we have no questions on the open meetings portion, we'll go ahead and go on to the next page and talk about exchange of information. We know having information in advance is helpful. It makes our meetings together with you more productive and puts everybody in a better position to be able to move the ball forward efficiently. And so number 5 is designed so that we actually have an efficient process for being able to request the information. I'll be that person for you all to make the request of, and Rick has agreed to be that person for the union. And we'll do our best to be able to get it promptly. We provide for a 2 business day turnaround if possible, and obviously would discuss any cost, deadlines, or logistics if applicable in those circumstances. So we appreciate that and the ability to be able to work collaborative with you on that exchange of information, because it'll be critical for us to be able to work off the same bucket of information as we work through these issues. So if we go on to the next slide. Our tentative agreement process is one that we find very productive and think that you do too. When we have worked through an article sufficiently to the point of consensus between both sides, we capture that in a tentative agreement, also referred to as a TA, and sort of put that in the pile of good work that's completed until we have completed an entire contract. So the expectations are that we will continue in that vein. Expectations are that unless something is brought to the table to change an article, that the article is going to remain the same. So with that understanding, we think it'll work pretty efficiently.
We agree.
Okay, thank you. We'll talk about 7 and 8 together just because they're pretty easy to cover. Obviously, to the extent we feel there needs to be amendment to these ground rules, we are obviously both open to that. And with regard to the time spent in this room or whatever room it is that we have our meeting posted for, the expectation is we'll start at 10. We won't make it beyond 6 unless we have some pretty significant work that we both feel would be productive for us to continue work together. So just for purposes of planning and being able to make sure your members have the opportunity to plan for their days and that sort of thing, and likewise on our part. We appreciate that very much. So moving on to number 9, the record of negotiations. We both have the ability, as we can see, the recording equipment in front of us. These will be, or at least the city's recording will be housed on the website so anybody can access it at any time. And so we can be sure that you've got that link so you know where it lives, and obviously you're welcome to have your own recording as well. Moving on to 10. We'll talk a little bit about duration. As we know, under the statute, it provides for 60 days. In some of the advanced discussions with you all, I think we all thought it was a good idea to have that 60 days start from our first substantive meeting, currently scheduled for March 29th. So our 60 days will then commence at that point, with the understanding that to the extent we are in productive discussion and want to extend for negotiations, that those extensions will work in our favor and we get to be able to use them as needed. We also include some of the dates that have been agreed to at this point, March 29th, April 19th, and May 3rd. And to the extent that there needs to be some accommodation of the schedule, we can mutually agree to other dates to be able to get done the work that we need to do. And last but most importantly, we do have our good faith commitment. I think it's implicit. I think it's demonstrated by the pre-work already and the time that we've had to be able to get ready for this day with you all. But the expectation is we'll fully live up to our duty to bargain in good faith. You have that commitment from us. And we also recognize our charter code provision and will act consistently with that in section 169. So unless there's any other questions, I'll turn the floor back over to Mariam.
Thank you, Liz. And I open the floor. I believe if there's any questions or comments about the ground rules that you and your team would like to make at this point.
We don't have any comments or questions about the ground rules. I guess we do have a comment. We appreciate the city's cooperation. And I agree that both sides have already demonstrated a commitment and some good feeling in getting through the ground rules as quickly as possible. I will note that we have already agreed on 11 things, right? We haven't officially started, but we have preemptively started to agree on things, and that's a wonderful thing. We look forward to negotiations. We look forward to acting in a focused manner to do the business of the people, which we're all doing here today and we'll do through the spring. And, we are very optimistic that we're going to reach a negotiated agreement between this union and the city, which hasn't happened since 2009, right? So this is a really important opportunity for all of us, and we look forward to it.
Well, thank you for that, Rick. That is all the items that we have for today. As we have agreed on the ground rules on our first substantive meeting on the 29th, we have agreed to exchange our proposals. That way we can review the priorities of the city at that point and answer any questions that you may have. And as also indicated in the rules, we'll get those to you today, 2 days in advance of the meeting. So again, we look forward and to have productive sessions and working with all of you.
We do too. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, thank you so much, and we'll see you then on the 29th.
Thank you.
Thank you.